So I hope that you recognize this piece of music. And next one, I believe Julia will introduce. It is a piece by Purcell that I did not play before, so I don't know very much about it.
It's a hornpipe by Henry Purcell, so written in the 17th century, and it's from the harpsichord works. And some of you may recognise it, even if you're not expecting to, and that may be if you're a fan of Jane Austen film adaptations, because it's often been used in the ballroom scene, and so very genteel looking people in the films have been seen dancing to this particular piece of music. So this is Hornpipe by Henry Purcell. Many of you will be familiar with the oboe already, especially if you already play it, if you're one of my pupils. But Andrea asked me to say a little bit about the oboe for those who are pianists or have not come across the oboe quite so much, perhaps. It's a double reed instrument, and that means that it's two bits of bamboo which are tied together, and that being the case, you can make a sound just on the reed. I'm not sure anyone would want to hear that for a whole concert though. I feel like some of my pupils should be doing this actually, but and the oboe is a member of a bigger family of instruments. So there is the oboe d'amore, which is slightly larger than the oboe, pitched a minor third lower, and the cor anglais, which is deeper still, and that's a fifth lower. And there's also the bass oboe, which I've played once, and it gave me terrible stomachache because it was really hard work.
Yes, now I noticed we had a little bit of sound issues. Somebody unmuted themselves, probably by mistake. Everyone should be muted now, but if you can please all just double check that you are muted, that would be great. Thank you so much. Okay. Oh, and we are moving on to Spain. We are going to play very famous tunes from opera Carmen. In fact, I played at the Clarendon this afternoon and someone requested this and I thought, well, this is brilliant, I'm going to do this later. And we would like to play Habanera and Seguidilla from opera Carmen by Bizet. I don't know if you know what does the word habanera mean, and I looked it up earlier today. Did you know, Julia, what it means? What is the meaning of the word?
I don't know specifically what it means, but I do know that there's a specific habanera rhythm which you'll hear in the left hand of Andrea's piano.
Which apparently comes from Havana, from Cuba. So habanera literally means from the city of Havana, because B in Spanish, I believe, is pronounced as V. So we should call it Habanera.
And then we're going to follow that with the Seguidilla. And the Seguidilla is another aria from Carmen, and it's an old Castilian folk song and dance. And in the opera, this occurs when Carmen is singing to attempt to seduce her captor, Don Jose, into going with her to her friend Lilias Pastia's inn. And I should say, you can't see them. They're just here. I am playing castanets in this with my feet.
Indeed.
Or at least I hope to be.
Let's try. Yay! Brilliant. Okay. infectious tunes. And my other favorite is the Toreador song. Really great piece of music. So, where are we going to travel next? I believe it's France.
Yes, and we're moving on to a piece which is really core in the oboe repertoire. And for any oboe students, this is on the grade 8 syllabus. It's a sonata by Camille Saint-Saëns, and we're going to play just the first movement, and for grade 8 you can pick any of the 3 movements. The first one is beautiful, the second one is slow and beautiful. The last movement is fiendishly fast and difficult, so very few people attempt that one for their grade 8 exam. And Camille Saint-Saëns wrote this piece in 1921, so exactly 100 years ago, and I believe this was the last piece that he ever wrote. Let me just check my head.
Sure. So, Julia, you can have a bit of a rest now. I know you'll have to tell us a little bit later why oboe is one of the hardest instruments to play. But before we get there, you can have rest.
Great. See you in a bit.
And I'll just double check and see whether I've got any messages. Everything seems to be okay. Everyone good? have a drink, enjoy yourself. I would like to play a piano piece for you now. And I don't know, you may have heard this, but many musicians found it quite difficult to continue practicing during the last 12 months or so. Basically, as soon as all the concerts were cancelled and the gigs were gone, we were either lazy or we had no reason, or I don't know, perhaps we were a little bit upset about what has been going on, and not many of us continued. And I started recently playing a little bit more pianistically harder and advanced repertoire, because I thought I really want to get those fingers going. And I'd like to play for you piano study by Frederic Chopin. He wrote 2 books of studies, and this is the one from Opus 25, number 1, known as the Harp Etude. However, my piano professor used to call it the butterfly study, and that's because in order to play all those fast spread arpeggios, one's arms have to move in a butterfly way. So I'll attempt that for you. Now, let's see how that goes. So Frederic Chopin, study in A flat major. I'm losing my voice. Let me have a drink. There's my butterfly flying from flower to flower here and there really fast.
And we're going to change the mood completely now.
Yes,
I'm going to pick up the Irish whistle again, and we've included this one partly because I love these pieces, but also for my pupils at City of London School, they'll recognise this piece because we played it together in folk group. And it's one of the things that I really missed during the COVID pandemic, because I've been able to rehearse a small ensemble with some pupils who are all in the same year group, so therefore they're in the same bubble, but folk group spans several years of the school, and so we haven't been able to meet together. So this is for members of folk group, and we're going to play 3 jigs. The first one is called the blackthorn stick, the blackthorn being the plant that grows in hedgerows and from which we get sloes to make sloe gin or sloe jelly. And the second jig is the frost is all over, and finally the bush in bloom. And for anyone who wonders what I'm doing with these are actually earplugs, and with the Irish whistle I can hear myself better if I put earplugs in, so that's why I do it. And these are special musicians' earplugs which have sound filters, so they filter out a certain number of decibels, but you can choose how many decibels you want to filter out.
You can choose. You can change the setting for that.
You pop out the filters and change.
I was thinking, oh, high tech. I haven't noticed. It's good old fashioned. Okay, good. Great. Do you want to tune? Irish people in the audience actually, but if we do, please let us know at the end whether you recognize these tunes. And we're going to change the mood again. We would like to take you to Spain. We'd like to take you to Andalusia, or Andalusia, I believe. And we're going to play 3 folk songs which are arranged by an English composer, I believe. Yeah,
Richard Hewson. And the first one is called El Niño y el Mar, The Boy and the Sea. And I really loved the piano accompaniment in this piece. It's got a very wave-like feel. So there are rippling waves underneath the oboe line. The second one is called Cante Hondo, and that literally means deep song, and it's one of the 3 vocal styles of flamenco, and it's considered to be the most serious, in inverted commas, of the 3. So I needed to channel my inner flamenco singer for the second one. And the last one is simply called Danza and is a very lively dance. And just let me get my reed working again. And after this one, I'll tell you a little bit about why the oboe is considered to be one of the most difficult instruments.
piece, but I thought they're really very well written and beautifully arranged.
And our next piece, which I believe is a request, so I'll let Andrea talk to you about that in a moment.
Yes, Christopher, this is for you. This is the theme from Haydn's St. Anthony's Chorale, which I must say, when I responded to your email, I thought this is a piano piece written by Brahms. I had no idea that an orchestral piece exists like this until I rehearsed with Julia, and then she put me straight. So, Christopher, this is for you, and thanks for requesting this.
And yes, this is a lovely introduction into why the oboe is considered to be one of the most difficult instruments. Now, I say considered because I play the oboe and piano and Irish whistle, but I don't play all the other orchestral instruments. So until I think you've learned them all, you can't possibly say which is the most difficult. And even then, what's most difficult for you might not be for somebody else. But the reason the oboe is considered to be difficult is because of the double reed. Partly because of the size of the double reed, because it's a smaller reed than on a cor anglais or a bassoon, so the internal pressure inside your body is therefore greater. And so as an oboist, you're constantly trying to balance the effort you put in, the energy, with the tension that creates, because you don't want to be tense as a musician or a performer. So you're wanting to use the required amount of tension and no more. You really need some tension in your muscles and in your breathing muscles to get the instrument to work. And the other thing about the reed is that because it's a double reed, I mean, clarinet reeds to a certain extent do the same, but oboe reeds vary very widely depending on the temperature, the humidity, and there are all sorts of grades of thickness of oboe reed. So as an oboist, once you've learned how to adjust your reed, you might spend a lot of time adjusting reeds, trying to get them as perfect as you can, and that cuts down on your practice time. So
do you actually make your own reeds?
I do sometimes. I have to admit that this particular one I'm using today is not one of my own reeds. Okay. But yes, that does give you an element of control over your playing, so that balances to a certain extent the difficulties of the reed. But you know, I don't think I would have it any other way. You have to make sure that your mood isn't hanging on your oboe reed and what it's doing on a particular day. And I think the oboe is the instrument for me, and I wouldn't change it. And this next piece, which is the theme from St. Anthony Chorale, which is an orchestral piece by Brahms, is often put onto the excerpt list for orchestral auditions, and particularly the second oboe part. Now, if you heard the second oboe part on its own, you might think it sounded very straightforward, but it's very low, it's very quiet, and it's also very intimidating playing the second oboe part completely unaccompanied in front of a panel of people auditioning you. And I speak from experience, it wasn't one of my favourite moments in an audition situation, but I'm pleased to say that I'm going to be playing the first oboe part today, so that makes my life a little bit easier. So this is a request.
Yes, for Christopher.
And this is the theme from St. Anthony Chorale, and it's a theme originally by Haydn, but the orchestral variations are by Brahms.
Thank you. You make it clear, Julia. So Christopher, I hope you liked it. I hope we played it as you know it. And Julia, you can have rest again.
Thank you very much.
You can enjoy yourself for a little while I'm going to play a piano piece. And this piece is called Narcissuss by a composer called Nevin. I always forget his first name. Let me get that for you. Ethelbert Nevin. I don't know whether you know this piano piece or not. When I start playing this, I think you probably will recognize the tune. And it comes from a piano book that is very, very old. When I was about 12 years old, or maybe 15, I don't know, my neighbor who lived in the block of flats just just underneath us, literally, gave me a pile of music once. She said, oh, my mum was doing some photocopies and she gave me lots and lots of piano pieces. And I actually stuck all of them together and I still have the book. And I found this piece there and I realized, actually, I do know this. And when I was learning this, I was looking for a recording on YouTube, which is what you do. You know, when you're learning a piece of music, you either go on YouTube if you're in front of the computer, or I don't know, you go to your CD collections and you look for it and you want to hear how other pianists play. And I realized there aren't many recordings of this. So here's something to do for me. And I would like to play this piece for my friend Michael. Thank you so much, Michael. I'm really pleased that we got in contact again because we met so many years ago on a ship, and I'm pleased that you've been a good friend to me and you're really supporting me. So thank you so much. This is for you. Narcissuss by Ethelbert Nevin. Narcissuss. By the way, after the concert, don't feel like you have to rush away. We can have a little chat, and I would like to hear from those of you who recognize this piece. I would quite like to know where did you hear it or how do you know it? Because I would like to include it in one of my projects, so that would be much appreciated. Okay, Julia, please come back. I need you. I miss you.
And we're going to move on to two pieces which are from films. We've had the piece by Purcell, which has been used in adaptations of Jane Austen's novels, and our next piece is probably one of the most famous, if not the most famous piece written for the oboe. It's called Gabriel's Oboe, and it's from the film The Mission, and the composer is Ennio Morricone. And for the oboists in the audience who haven't played it already, it's a beautiful piece to play. It's on the grade 6 syllabus, and it sounds relatively straightforward to play, but it takes a lot of sustaining. I shouldn't be saying this before I play it. So it's on the grade 6 syllabus, but the rhythms and the sustaining power that you need to play it are why it's there. And in the film, Jeremy Irons plays the lead role, and he is, I believe, a Roman Catholic missionary who is sent to the South American jungle. And he takes with him not survival rations, not a machete to cut his way through the undergrowth. He takes an oboe. And in the film, he's seen sitting under a tree, playing the tune you're about to hear, and as if by magic, a full orchestral backing appears. And out from behind the trees come some of the local people, because they hear the sound of the tune and they're not quite sure what's going on. They look like they mean Jeremy Irons' character harm, and they do actually break his oboe, I'm afraid, but they let him live. So you could say that playing the oboe saved that character's life. So this is Gabriel's Oboe from The Mission by Ennio Morricone.
And if you came to my previous concert, I actually played this piece, so the story might be familiar to you. You might be thinking, Andrea was talking about this last time. So yes, but this piece, now you're going to hear it as it should sound properly.
I hope so.
In its all beauty. So it was quite creative. I kind of made up my own version, and I think that surprised you. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. And our final piece in the programme today is by Gershwin, but I'll just let Andrea say a few words beforehand.
Yes, so thank you so much everybody for coming. This is the third of my Piano Plus concerts, live streamed from my living room. I don't know how many more there will be. I hope there will be more. Let's see whether there is appetite for it or not, but if there will be the next one, I would like to bring on a violinist. So if you are new here today, please feel free to drop Julia a message, and I will be happy to add you on my mailing list if you'd like to know what's next, or you can just simply Google my name and then you can go on to my website and you'll see what's coming up. I don't know, is there anything else that I forgot to say? I hope you enjoyed yourself. I can see someone is trying to get into the room, so apologies. I'm a doorman and a pianist and a speaker.
We do have another performance coming up, a live performance. It's not for a while, but we're keeping our fingers crossed. We're hopefully going to be playing together in the Herne Hill Festival in South London in October. And we're playing a programme which is all of film music. So one or two of the pieces that you've heard today may make an appearance, but with a mixture of other things as well. So that's going to be film music for oboe and piano. And it's in, I believe it's St Paul's Church in Herne Hill. But if any of you are interested, then let us know and we can give you details nearer the time.
Absolutely. And we would like to finish with a piece by George Gershwin, and I always forget the name, of Promenade.
Well, actually, it's
Promenade.
Promenade, and it has two names, so it is a little bit confusing. It's known as Promenade, but it's subtitled Walking the Dog. And I believe Hazel, who is in the audience today, who is a lovely singer, has a programme where she includes this piece. It's from the film Shall We Dance? And George Gershwin wrote the score. And in the film, Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers are playing leading roles, and the music you're about to hear accompanies a sequence where the characters are walking a dog on a luxury cruise liner. So we've played this piece on cruise ships because it seems entirely appropriate.
Yes.
And I'd like to add my own thanks for joining us today. Thank you to all those people I know who have joined the concert, and to all Andrea's friends and contacts. Thank you for giving the oboe a try, and it's lovely to be able to play for you. So thank you too.
Yes, it is really nice to be here. You know, it's very strange. Perhaps I never spoke about this, but it is very, very strange to perform from your living room in front of the camera. In fact, two cameras, and then you don't know which way you need to look. And obviously, we don't hear you applauding, which is fine. But sitting here, maybe if you joined us, it is very strange. But I hope that you're all having a good time, because we are, despite not being able to hear you or see you. very much.